So sort of a key idea of this and of the entire session today is that evaluation questions are built on definitions and assumptions and values about quality and success. So all of those questions, if you had selected that as an evaluation question, that says something about what you value and think is important. They're often based on assumptions about what changes outdoor school might or could have on students. And this link is true that these evaluation questions rest on these definitions, values, and assumptions, whether or not we take the time to identify what those definitions, values, and assumptions are or not. And so one of the points that we're trying to make today and that our team is trying to dig into in our own work is what are those definitions, values, and assumptions of quality and success. And once those are figured out or defined a little bit more clearly, in some ways, the evaluation questions sort of emerge naturally from that because we've identified what we value or what our communities value and want to see from this program. And so then evaluation questions can come from those. So that's what we're trying to do. And we can ask evaluation questions about how well we're doing that, for example. Where if we don't have a clear idea of these definitions, values, and assumptions, the evaluation question itself is just sort of like unmoored. And I think we've all been in that situation before, probably, where it's like really hard to craft a question. And because you then realize, like, wait, what are we actually trying to do here? And then you kind of have to backpedal a bit. And so another quick thing I'll mention, Libby, if you could do a click, is that identifying these definitions, values, and assumptions of quality and success, that's an important step to developing evaluation questions, but it's also more broadly just something that we do as part of a program evaluation cycle. And so when we were planning this series, we were getting kind of a little jumbled in what exactly we were trying to talk about here today. And so we ended up deciding that we're not going to pretend that defining assumptions, definitions, values, and assumptions just fits within this one little track, that it's actually something that's valuable across multiple ways that you might be exploring your program, both at a bigger scale to understand your program and then also to develop individual evaluation questions. So what we would like to do now, and we're not going to have time in this space today to sort of fully, deeply engage with these questions in the way that you might within your own team. But we wanted to kind of give a little taste or a possible way to start to explore how our programs define quality and success and where those values come from. So we're going to use a Jamboard. And so we're going to start on the first slide of the Jamboard, which has been pasted into the chat, and Libby is also showing it up here on the screen. We're asking that you use yellow stickies, and the OSU team is going to use orange stickies as we sort of, try to add some transparency around where, as it currently sits, our definitions and ideas about quality and success are coming from, as far as it's understood by the five of us here on the call today. And so the prompt at the top is, in your organization, what are the accepted characteristics of a quality program? And on the bottom, in your organization, what are the accepted indicators of a successful program? And so that's sort of about the outcomes. And maybe one quick note before I set folks loose on here is that every individual person is going to have their own ideas of what quality and success look like. Typically, organizationally, some definitions or ideas or values have been determined, and those are the ones where resources are going towards, or those are the ones that the survey questions are about. And so trying to think about those organizational ideas of quality and success to the extent that that fits for your context. Well, we wanted to take a quick moment to do, again, we're not going to have the space here in this session to do this thoroughly, but to think about where those definitions of quality and success come from. So, you know, as an example for the OSU team, some of our definitions of quality and success come from the legislation that guides our work. But maybe a more interesting question, and a very interesting question is probably a better way to say it. Who was influential in shaping your organizational definitions of success and quality? So where do those definitions of quality and success come from, with a special focus on digging into who was influential in shaping those? So for the legislation, that could be legislators, that could be Friends of Outdoor School, that could be parents, all of these folks who were sort of engaged in getting that legislation across the finish line. So again, OSU folks will be in orange, everyone else in yellow, just to share some initial thoughts on the Jamboard about where those definitions of quality and success come from.